Thanks for joining us on the NRT Now podcast, part of the largest Christian music site online, newreleasetoday.com. Sit back and relax as we chat with your favorite artists, introduce you to new artists, and more. Now here's your host, Jake.
Hey y'all, welcome to episode 70. Just want to say thanks so much for tuning in here. Just thank you so much for taking the time out to spend with this podcast here and just listening to the artists and who they are as people behind the music. Just listen to their heart and listen to their story. So like I said, just thank you so much for taking the time out here. And we caught Luke with For King Country while he was on the road heading to the studio as they're writing more music, getting ready to release album number 4 at some point, hopefully in the near future. And just being able to have a conversation with him as he's on the road and just kind of the car, it reminds me a lot of just all the awesome conversations that happen on road trips. Well, at least within the first little bit. I know road trips can get long and sometimes the conversation gets a little tense, but we won't go there. But some really good conversations happen when you're driving and when you're riding in a car with somebody. And man, I'm starting to wonder if we should start doing a few more episodes or maybe some YouTube content, something like that. That's just conversations in cars. I think a couple of those are trademarked, so we can't use a couple of terminology, but I don't know. Maybe that's something that we do here in the future. But man, it was a really good time to be able to chat with Luke and, you know, like I said, in the car ride format. So without further ado, here is the conversation with Luke with For King Country. We are here with the We Love award-winning, well, half of the award-winning group For King Country. I know you've won Doves and Grammys and stuff, Luke, but I mean, the We Loves is what's really important here.
Hey, I'm cool with that, man. That works. That works for me. It's fan voted, right?
It is. So yep, you picked up 2 this year for Together, and you know, if I'm honest, I forget the other one. But there were so many awards this year, so many great nominees, and you guys wound up picking up 2 trophies this year, which I got to say I'm very happy, and I think it's well deserved.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Always, obviously, always grateful to be considered for these things. Obviously, it's not the reason why any of us do any of the things that we're doing. It's for an award, but I do hope it represents that, music's connecting with people, and hopefully that ultimately is pointing to something much greater than you and I.
And that was one of the things I want to talk to you about. The first time that we had met you was in, I think, 2018 when you guys did your Burn the Ships theater tour. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yep, you were in Dallas, and actually my daughter was with us for that show the first time that I had done an interview with you guys.
At the Bomb Factory.
Yes, it was hilarious.
Yeah, I remember.
She had no idea that we're heading there. We're listening to the album all the way there, about a hour-ish drive to get there. We walked right past your merch table with your guys' pictures about 10 feet tall. She didn't notice at all. And we're walking through and we get up there. And if I'm honest, you guys were one of the first interviews that I did when I started doing interviews with NRT here. And I was so nervous because I didn't want to screw it up for my daughter. I wanted to do great for my daughter. And as a dad, I hope that you understand that. Maybe that's just me.
Of course.
You guys are her favorite band. And we did the interview, had a great conversation. And then right afterwards, I heard the whole interview come back from stage. And I had a kind of an existential crisis there. Like, was my interview that good? Or was it just unoriginal? And we'll let that debate. But one of the things that you said in that interview that I want to talk about, and it leads to exactly what you were saying. One of the things that you had said was, you said, when it becomes someone's song or someone else's story, then that music becomes very worthwhile. It's cool to hear people say in these first few weeks that this is an album full of their stories and all the things that they're going through right now. So that's something that really stuck with me. And if I'm honest, it probably took a year for that really to sink in. It was when we caught you guys at the ballpark in Arlington. Joel was so kind to do a pregnancy announcement for us. When that happened, right after we left there, we weren't sure if it was going to be a viable pregnancy. We've gone through 3 miscarriages to that point. So we had no idea even if we're going to be able to use that video or if it's just going to be one of those memories of something that we did. But then I walked out of that conversation singing Fight On Fighter. That's when it clicked with what you had said that few months earlier about these songs becoming our own. That was something that I was kind of singing in my head over my wife. And like I said, it took a few months for what you said there to actually truly click in.
Well, look, I think I've often joked for a number of years that I'm not a good enough songwriter to write songs about things that don't mean something to me. There's other people out there that can do it. I just don't happen to be one of those guys. I remember the first song that I ever wrote that I was proud of. It was a song called Crave on the first album. And it was probably written 12 years ago now. And I remember driving home. At that time, obviously, I finished the demo and put the CD in my car. And I remember thinking that if nobody else ever hears this song is still very special to me. And it means something to my heart, means something to my soul. And as I kind of sat with that song for, a few weeks, I started to realize I played to other people. And I started to realize that if you can write a song that is real to you, that it resonates with you in a deep way, that there just so happen to be millions and millions of other people that are going through very, very similar things as what you are. And so when we write songs, our hope is that we're writing these songs from a very personal place, a very connective place, because when we write about that song, it connects with somebody else. It makes us not feel so alone. And in return, I hope it makes that other person feel seen as well and not so alone. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of the blueprint and the hope of what we do when we write these songs.
On that note, let's talk a little bit about together. I think so many of us right now, especially in America, just really feel that need. It feels like none of us are together some days. Here you guys come out with this breakout song of 2020. I mean, you have Tori Kelly and Kirk Franklin in one of the versions, and just so many different versions that come out that represent so many different styles. Talk a little bit about that song and just that process, that in a year where we're anything but together.
Yeah, well, we wrote the song actually a pretty good while ago. We couldn't get it finished in time for Burn the Ships, and so we kind of put it on the back burner a little bit. And we found ourselves up in Canada when kind of the pandemic really took hold and the lockdowns, the quarantines all started. We had done 2 shows in Canada, and we were there to do 12. And after the second show, they said, hey, we're shutting the border in 48 hours or whatever. And so we went home. When we were at that first show, and I was looking around at all the people, we were doing a Q&A. I said to Joel, man, the next song that we need to release is a song called Together, because I think that we're all going to get very, very isolated, and we're all going to feel very lonely during this time. And I think that one of my favorite lyrics in that song is, if we fall, we'll fall together, but when we rise, we will rise together. Because the truth is, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fall. We're all going to have those moments of, sadness. We're going to have those moments where we've let people down, or we're going to have those moments where we've let each other down. But it's comforting to know that we can do it together. And so after that point, we got home, and we weren't able to do that much other than kind of work on music. And so we started really getting into producing that song up. We had Joel and Mariah are friends with Tori Kelly and her husband, and said, hey, would you want to be involved with this? And then Kirk, we had just seen at the Grammys, and he had said, man, I really want to collaborate with you guys at some point. We thought, man, with all that was going on in the world, what a beautiful representation to have all 4 of us on a song all together. And so that's kind of how that song came to be.
As someone who sat and watched what seems like the world go crazy from down here in Texas, and it's just so amazing to see that togetherness. And I love what you're saying about we're rising together, because we have the pandemic that we're coming out of. We have all the politics that probably talked a little bit too much on this podcast, but now we have the Texas storms that hit us not long ago. So we have just this whole smattering of things that we need to come and rise up out of. There's nothing better. We have to do it together, or it's going to be so much tougher of a road, or we're not going to come out of it well if we don't come out of it together. So I love how you say that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
And so you're talking about having not much to do, but be able to work on new music all throughout the freaking country. Actually, I got to step back before we get there. One of the music videos that you shot was in Wyoming. And I've got to ask, as a Wyoming boy, where at in Wyoming did you guys shoot that music video?
Oh my goodness. When I'm back looking at it now, it's a tiny little town, so I don't actually remember what the name of it was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I know that I think we flew out of Bozeman, Montana. It was about a 2-hour drive or so. So yeah, I don't remember the town. I'm not usually that guy, but I'm pretty convinced that the town had maybe a population of 1,000 people. I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere, which I love. I mean, I'm a little bit of a farmer boy at heart, and so I like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, like I said, coming from Wyoming, that sounds absolutely familiar. You described like about 90% of Wyoming right there as the middle of nowhere.
That's right.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were kind of in the Yellowstone-ish area about what it sounds
we
like.
weren't that. I mean, it may have been a couple hours away from there, but yeah, somewhere in the general vicinity of Wyoming, we were there.
Yeah. That question has been bugging me. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but it's been bugging me
it's all good.
Months now since I've seen that. And like I said, not a lot happens in Wyoming like that, so we kind of got excited as those of us who came from Wyoming.
If you email our office, they'll get you the answer.
So I want to talk about what else is coming through your guys' Instagram and social media is For King Country album number 4 that has been in the works.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what's coming out with number 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think it all remains to be seen. I'm actually driving about to be at the studio, myself. Making music is an interesting exercise in vision and reality, because you go into things with, I want to do it this way. It's going to be this long. We're going to do it that way. This is the tempo. These are the types of things. And then when you actually start writing the songs, there's a great chance that the two don't actually match. You actually feel like, okay, well, I came into it with this, and this was the grandiose idea, but I actually feel this. I feel that. I want to tell those stories. And, what if every song isn't up-tempo? Maybe if it's slower at times, you start to realize that your grandiose ideas may not be happening the exact way that you had planned. And I think that's definitely been the journey so far with this song. I mean, there's a temptation now for artists to write kind of a thesis paper on all things pandemic. And I'm not really very interested in doing that, but I am interested to write about the things that I learned through the pandemic, the things that became really important to me. The things that were sad, the things that were really happy, the great delights, the things that I realized that maybe I've been a little bit too busy, maybe I've been working too hard, maybe I've been missing some things. I think that those seem to be the narratives of stories that are coming up. It's not specifically about like this commentary on what we can do better as a world. I think we're going to have enough of that.
Yeah.
What were the lessons actually learned? I mean, I've had a lot of people say, I just can't wait for things to get back to normal. Look, I want normalcy in the sense of people able to go to shows again and get together and not walk into a grocery store and feel this isolation, this separation that I think all of us feel now because we're kind of told to do it, Yeah. I think we're ready for that to leave, but I want to take the lessons that I learned with me. I kind of want a new normal. I had this epiphany a little bit the other day. There's always another song. There's always another project. There's not any other interviews that are as important as this one, but there's other interviews, but there's no more souls, You don't get to recreate another soul. It's like the one that you have, the kids that you have, that's uniquely to them. And there's not another go round here. And so it's kind of changed a little bit of my philosophy on some of these things. I think we're definitely in a great sense of hurry until the pandemic happened in quarantine, where we were basically forced to not do much. Sometimes I think that we've forgotten the pace that we were living in, and I don't really want to go back to that.
I've heard a lot of people that are afraid of the word or the phrase, the new normal. I mean, at first I think I was too, if I'm honest, because there's that fear of what the new normal looked like. I mean, when it first started being kicked around, it was, we're going to have to mask forever. We're going to social distance forever. We're never going to be able to do another full capacity show. Just all the fear that came out of the word, the new normal. But I mean, I think you're exactly right. There's so much that we learned through this. And once we get to the other side, just everything that we've seen over this last year has just been so overwhelming. As we go into this next season, the thing that I really hope is that we don't forget the lessons that we've learned over the last year and just the whole slew of it, not just what we've learned from just being in isolation, but just being kind to others, listening, understanding, the compassion, everything that we've been forced to do this last year. I just hope we don't lose that as we go forward.
Yeah, I think we got a little spoiled. I think we got accustomed to, I make my plans, I'm going to go do it the way I want to do it. And I think the pandemic forced us to kind of stop and go, man, what actually really matters? What is it about life that is valuable? In the Bible, it talks about, the things that are unseen are the things that matter. And basically everything else is going to burn, I think I've taken more importance in the things that are unseen, maybe ever in my entire life. And I think that new normal, when you think of, are you going to wear a mask for the rest of your life? Or new normal, are you going to be afraid of this, that, or the other? I mean, I get those concerns. But new normal can mean these valuable lessons that we've learned we can implement daily. And in some cases, hopefully we won't forget. Hopefully we will enjoy the laughter a little bit more. Hopefully we'll enjoy the love a little bit more. Hopefully we will at some point get together again in rooms of more than just a few people and go, I've missed community. I love this. And then hopefully a few years from now, we still cherish that. It's still special to us. And I think in some cases we had forgotten the gift that a lot of us have been given with some of the things that, a couple of years ago that we just totally took for granted.
One of those things, I can't leave this episode without mentioning the new little Smallbone that came throughout this last year.
Yes. Yeah. We have a little baby girl. She'll be 8 weeks old tomorrow, actually. Little Evie Joy is her name. It's the first girl in our family. So I got 3 boys. My oldest is with me right now, actually, and we got our little girl. So we're pretty delighted. It's been a little bit of a journey. We lost our previous baby before that, and you mentioned a few of that, and I didn't really expect the grief that came along with that. I think that actually took me by, I should have realized it would be that, but there was a deep sense of sadness that I didn't plan on. So this girl, I think she just redeems a lot for us. The fact that it's probably is our last one, that it's a girl. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the other thing that I think the pandemic has made me realize is we have so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everybody's situation is like mine, or if you're living in New York City in a 600 square foot flat, I'm sure quarantine was really difficult. I'm not saying that it's all been easy, but it has made me reflect on how much I've been given. And in some cases, I've said to my wife, we've been given too much. I feel so very fortunate to have some of the memories. I think husband and father is my 2 favorite titles. And so to add another one of that a little girl will now say, call me dad. I think that's quite special.
Man, that's incredible. And the video that the pregnancy announcement that Joel did, we actually did get to use. We had, little girl. And it's funny that you say you had your first girl, because our little boy is 4 weeks old? Going to be 5, 6 weeks old, somewhere in there. I've lost track.
That's awesome.
We had the little girl right after, or that Joel had announced. And then not too much longer, we had our little baby boy, and he's the first boy amongst my siblings as well. So I have 2 girls and then the boy. So we're just the opposite of you, Luke. We went with the girls first and then the boy later.
There you go.
But
how fun is that?
It's so great. And it's exactly right. You just kind of have that redemption and just the gifts that we've been given, the time to spend that first year basically at home with my daughter. And then so far been able to spend a lot of time with my son here. You're right. It's just about perspectives. We have been given so much. Even though everything's gone crazy, everything's been terrible, we also need to hold, in my opinion, hold the perspective that we've been given a lot at the same time.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking your time here taking time out of your drive to chat with us here. And man, we are so looking forward to seeing you back at a show, hopefully soon.
Hey man, appreciate the time. Thank you. And we'll catch you sometime soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us for this episode of the NRT Now podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And special thanks to Neon Feather for providing our theme music. Make sure to check out newreleasetoday.com and our socials for more great content. See you next episode.